And welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. It is January the 24th of 2024, and we are back with Manga Talkie Times.
Yeah, they can't stop us. I have decided this is a new year. I'm going to be more official. I'm wearing a blazer. I have a little scarf. I feel very important right now. I feel like I need to tell someone to go get my coffee, which would probably do a lot of damage to me if I drank coffee right now, so I definitely shouldn't. But that's the power I crave, Nick. I need you to understand this.
Yeah, I see you kind of like I've got like a professional office set up right now as well. You know, but instead of framing like a degree or certificate, it's just the framed portrait of Naputaku winning top most popular character.
He is right here, letting us all know
that's your.
He won Best Boy of Vago-chan forever and always. Also, I have a workstation back here from when Joa and Austin lived here, and Joa went through, I believe this was her third workstation in my house. I have like two other half set up workstations still existing in my house, because Joa just had times where she's like, this will help my productivity. So a new workstation got constructed.
Okay.
Now it's here. I don't know what to do with it. I think it's just going to exist there forever.
All right.
Till I destroy it and maybe set up some kind of life-size Nanami thing. Like it'll be Nanami, and I could slide my own hair into his hand, and I could relive my favorite mom moment in all of fiction.
Okay, so.
I want to rip off a joke I've heard so bad. Somebody was like, if Nanami had me in that position, I would have unzipped his pants and shown Shibuya a real incident.
Okay. So I'm sorry. I know that I'm basically just producing dead air right now. I am.
You weren't expecting the start of this episode to go like this.
No, I was not prepared. So
I told you I'm a business person. This is what business people talk about, right?
Is it?
Now I don't know. Now I feel confused. Perhaps I've been lied to.
I'm concerned about what your context for your impressions of what business people talk about are.
I'm like, let's look at me. I'm a stupid business jerk. Blah, blah, blah. I want to get railed by Nanami. Nah, blah, blah, blah.
Specifically, that's the water cooler talk.
Yeah. They're like, hey, did you watch the game last night? No, I was too thick of getting my back blasted out by Nanami's song. I've been there. Another Sunday, right?
You imagine if like that was the topic that was associated with like really boring white people? You know, it's just like the most plain, mundane talk. Isn't like, oh, how about this weather? Oh yeah, did you see the game last night? Is like, oh, what are you thinking about? No, I get my back blasted up by Nanami. Yeah, you know how it is. Ha ha. Back to the grind, but not that kind of grind. Ha ha.
Not the grind I want to be doing. Yeah,
that's like the version of dad jokes in that universe.
I was gonna say that's their version of working hard or hardly working.
Right, working hard or getting fucked by Nanami.
I'm like, well, I can only pick one. This is such a weird energy to start the show. We have so many manga to talk about. We should probably, I guess, just move into talking about them. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we're going to go from this to talking about two boys fighting each other, but here we go.
There's someone out there who wants Shigaraki to blow their back out. It's not me, but I'm happy for whoever it is.
I have to imagine that there are multiple someones who want that. Like, I can't imagine that there's only just a single person who has that fascination.
It might just be the one. It's Spinner, I believe. Boom, we're back on topic.
Here we go. That's how we do it.
Done and done. Like a business person would do.
My Hero Academia. Chapter number 412, History's Maddest Hero. We get a lot of, like, Deku just doing, like, here's how I'm combining my quirks. He's punching. Okay, he's punching hard. With the...
I mean, there's a wild thing that he's like, I'm using the black whips internally in my own body to hold my muscles together and flex them. Yeah. I was like, you can do that? He may have established it at some point before in his life, but I was like, this feels like a pretty big development that you could use your powers in that way.
It seems dangerous as well. He completely like explodes off one of his gauntlets too when he does it, and he just unleashes this massive blast of air that prevents Shigaraki from touching the ground, so he can't channel it through the earth to decay stuff. But Shigaraki's like, oh, whatever. I'll just, keep on touching stuff. Touchy touch, 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 touch. But there is a massive dust cloud that Deku is also summoned with his abilities, and he strikes from out of the smoke and blows off Shigaraki's hand. Put it on the counter. Mark it off. Another arm came off today. Hooray!
Yeah, the Bleach Memorial category is getting filled early this year.
That's right.
Not even the only arm getting blown off we'll talk about this week.
Nope. But Shigaraki is still, very dangerous, and also he's got danger sense, and also he brings up the fact that he's got Ragdoll's search quirk as well. So even if he doesn't detect danger, which is what Deku is actually using the smoke for, so that it's basically constantly feedbacking on him so he can't use spider sense while Deku's actually attacking him.
Whoa, Nick, please. It's danger sense, not spidey sense. Completely different.
Deku sense, yeah. He can still detect the quirk with Ragdoll. And so he's like, yeah, so you're never gonna get a chance to catch your breath. And then he starts talking about, and I know, what your problem is, which is that, like, you can't finish me off unless you kill me. But you're not going to do that because you're obsessed with saving child me, and you're not going to give that up. And Deku's like, yeah, I'm not going to give up on that crying boy. So Shigaraki starts mocking him, and he says, like, hey, you're just like all these people who have this narrow worldview, and you can't cope with the reality that I'm imposing upon us, so you're just trying to cram me into that worldview like a square peg into a round hole. And he says, like, we're connected still because of all the weird one for all for one stuff. So take a closer look, and you can see that I've buried that little kid. My worldview has taken over. The boy's gone. Only I'm left. Zool! Tamura Shigaraki. And the visual for this is, like, an entire building has, like, been crumbled apart and, like, turned into a sphere around the kid Tenko that Deku had seen previously. So we go back to previous wielders of One for All, in this case Nana, telling him, like, you can't save him, kid. Just, you gotta kill him. You've got your only chance at this point is to destroy him with a single blow. Just do it. And Deku's like, no, I can't. I have to ask why he can't let go of the sad, lonely past of his. All he did was put a lid on it. And up until that lid shatters to pieces, I won't stop smashing away at it. And Deku gets really, really scary looking when he says this. Like, he looks scarier than when he was, like, full, dirty, smelly Deku, who was wearing the mask and stuff. This is a very intense look.
It's very interesting. He also kind of has that, like, X-shaped scar that I think the second wielder kind of has, the one that makes him look like Bakugo a little bit. I don't know if that's intentional because that's literally the next character kind of speaks, but it feels somewhat intentional in the shading there.
And said second wielder says, like, yeah, this is why I was opposed to helping out with all of this. You know, he's got this delusion that he could save his own arch enemy. It's madness, a madness that disrupts our destined path. And he's like, yeah, he doesn't understand because he grew up in this peaceful time. He doesn't understand the harsh reality of what we've got to do. But he also admits, having observed from within, I know the truth. This boy clings to a driving notion that anyone, whether the most vile among us or even the quirkless, inside each of us beats an innately human heart. I too want to believe. But as he thinks that, a hand points forward, a hand that belongs to the Toshinori spirit, it seems like. And the second wielder looks to him and then looks off in the distance to where he's pointing. And he thinks, call me a fan of saccharine sentiment, but now you have to do exactly as I say. I'm betting everything on you, Ninth. The time has come to part ways with One for All. So what could this mean? Who knows? We'll find out next time.
I think it means he's going to give All for One to Shigaraki.
It seems like that might be an implication.
I mean, that's a super cool move. If that's what happens, I think that's pretty interesting. I think some people have predicted this for a while now, but I don't really get into like theory crafting with stuff as much as I probably should. And I think that concept's super cool. The idea that he'll like get handed over to Shigaraki, which is kind of dangerous to a certain extent, considering how many quirks are going on. But I think if that's what he's going for, then I think that is going to be a very cool and baller move. So we'll see. Also, I have heard some people say that Stars and Stripes hand, I don't remember what her armor looked like. And I don't know what the implication would be of her being the one pointing. But maybe.
I guess that does look like her gauntlet. Maybe. Okay.
Yeah. But I think it's a good chapter. I appreciate Deku sticking to his guns. Hopefully we get some development, because it feels like we've been in a little bit of a stasis for a little bit since the Deku-Shigaraki fight started. And I'll be curious to see kind of what happens next if Deku does give All for One to Shigaraki or not.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. Let's go on to Undead Unluck.
Yeah, this is number 191, Top Bull Sparks. I have no idea why this chapter is called that, by the way.
No.
So we get a color page. It's a 4-year anniversary. That's why I wore this blazer, so I could feel fucking as fancy as Fuko looks in this chapter. She looks phenomenal. Holy shit. We get a cool color spread showing all the different members of Union, Ed Fang. So really cool stuff. Super cool.
And Apocalypse.
Yeah, and Apocalypse. Hey, he's part of the team at this point, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. So we start in a flashback. It is September 30th, 2015. This is just before the last quests were decided and all the conditions. So Apocalypse opens by saying, "Do you hear me, 10 superior rules? I'm about to make the new quests. And our people have enough penalties that there is no longer a limit to how many master rules can participate. I need a minimum of 2. However, God is hoping for more." So for the next 3 minutes, the gate will be open and the protection removed. And anyone who would like to join is more than welcome to enter. So the first seat is like, all right, there you have it. So who's going? And everyone says, I'll go. Even 10, sick. It's like, yes, I'll go too. They don't focus on him at all this chapter. But I do like the idea. He's like, I think round 2 I might do better. So number 1's just like, I figured everybody would say that. I guess we'll all go then. I mean, Sick alone was enough to basically almost kill all of them. So why don't we all just go? And we get little scenes of different characters talking. Change is like, oh, I'm really gonna go out there and change them this time for sure. But then Andy shows up and fires off some soul bullets. They are blocked But Change is immediately angry. She's like, every single time you show up, you sicken me. You always have your manhood here. Put it away. Excuse me.
Yeah, she's not a fan of the nudiness, and I think that we actually just have like a bunch of discrepancy shots. We don't have to have a big old censor bar for Andy in this chapter. There's like smoke or word bubbles that get in the way instead.
Yeah, there's some tasteful cover-ups there. Imagine if they were just like, nah, his dick's so charred, it ain't even worth it. It don't even count no more. He manages to hit Change with an attack, and as a result, she's wrapped up in his soul chains. So she's going to be locked in place. She can't move. One member of the table, the oldest looking member, shows up and is like, wow, this old fogey is itching for a trip outside. Step aside now, if you please. And he uses an attack called Time Defense. And all we can see is that, like, Andy's body starts to move out of sync with his soul. And the member of the group who has, like, sort of a military garb's just like, great job, let me handle this. And he fires a whole bunch of, like, rockets and cannons, and tanks show up. And they're like, well, that's good. I mean, old man really make it so his regeneration should be slow, so that should make these chains. And as the smoke clears, not only are the chains not gone, he's managed to hook everyone else but the first seat with his chains. We see the old man's like, oh, now I'm stunned. And number one's like, don't get a hold of yourself. No, don't feel too bad. It took him hundreds of millions of years to be able to pull off a technique like that. Also, I think at this point we can just assume the old man is probably time as a rule, but not definite yet. So maybe presumptuous to say anything. Number one figures out exactly what Andy did, though. He's like, you just turned your brain off and let your soul move your body, right? Because your mind and your soul were placed on a time lag. So that would be a way of doing it. And I'm flattered, actually. You believe in souls, then. I wonder who allowed that to happen, because in my experience, people like you don't believe in them. So, ooh, perhaps we have found out who this is. This perhaps is Soul. Soul, or number one, I should say, starts attacking Andy.
Jump to conclusions.
Yeah. Starts attacking Andy, and there's a bunch of, Dragon Ball Z collision effect explosions going on. And he's just like, you're allocating everything to the chains, so you're just able to keep me in check. But we're short on time here, so I'm going to end this now. And once we get the better of you, then we'll all be free. And Soul starts activating this, big attack, shoots out this giant beam called Soul Road. And Andy counters it, again, very Dragon Ball Z, and sort of like a Kamehameha meet in the middle kind of energy blast. And the first seat just says, amazing. And you're not even my vessel. There is no denying it. This loop's strongest negator is you. At this point, Apocalypse notes that there's only 30 seconds left to get out, and the chains around Beast and Language are broken. And he's like, oh, did you just free those two? Well, that's fine. You're only freeing up a little bit of energy. And you two just wait there, because I'm going to handle this in a quick second. And they both just look at each other and peace out.
Bye!
Yeah, they're like, later. And at that point, Apocalypse says, time's up. Those are the only ones who will be added to the quests, and the gate's going to be closed. And he's like, number one's just like, damn, to think that we all took them on at once, and only 2 of us managed to get free. Apocalypse teleports Andy outside at this point. But as he's doing it, number one just looks at him and just says, like, you planned on letting those 2 go from the very beginning, didn't you? Was that wise? Because they're still very strong. No, I know why you did it, though. It's because of that whole trust thing you guys are big on. Gross. And that's how the chapter ends, as we jump back to the present as Fuko is flying off. She has Juez in tow. There's still 4 more members they need to grab, and then all these quests to complete. But we get a little flash backwards, I think, in celebration of the anniversary, to figure out how those 2 specifically got to be the ones in this mission.
Yeah. I do like some of the little touches, like when they head off, Language is reading her book. While they're flying through space, like immediately as soon as they're at Denji, open this book up and read it. So that's just her thing. It does add an extra little level of intrigue to know that each of the members of the council have one particular person that is their counterpart,
Mhm.
because it indicates like, oh, as we go through this, we're going to find out who those counterparts are. And even with these first two, it's like, what the fuck is going to be like the language one? Is it gonna be Tella because of the inability to speak? Like, what's going on with that? But it just kind of is a little indication of like, oh, that hopefully this means that there'll be certain characters that will get a little bit of a spotlight because they're opposed to these forces that are coming after them.
Yeah. There's definitely a way for them to open up a couple things here and add some like interesting character developments. Again, this all really comes down to how long this series is going to run for. Like,
Yeah.
it always feels like we're getting close to wrapping it up to some extent. And then I'm like, no, I guess there's like four more characters they have to grab, and then Ruin, and then they might add more people, because like some of these things I don't know who would be the vessel for Beast. Do they want to add vessels for all these characters? Are we going to establish them? Does that mean there's a soul somewhere? Like, like what do these things mean basically? So yeah, very curious, very, very interesting.
Let's head on down to Blue Box.
Blue Box.
Blue Box, chapter number 33. Why? We get Chinatsu, cute little picture of her with a little Taiki snowman.
Hopefully she'll remain just as happy and whimsical in this moment throughout the rest of the chapter.
Yeah. So it is the basketball match between Aimee and Saisho. So Chinatsu is leading her team, Yumika is leading hers. They're trading scores, and they're getting quite a crowd because they're like, this is like essentially like a finals match. The quality of these two competitors, because of how far they got last year, how competitive this game is, and we get some more intense play. And Chinatsu goes up for a contested shot, and she lands awkwardly on one of her feet and stumbles into her defender, and they both go tumbling over. But there's just a quick little crash there that's scary for a moment, and like, okay, they seem fine. But Taiki kind of immediately looks a little bit worried, even as Chinatsu shoots him a little smile from the court. And she gets the ball, Chinatsu goes for a layup, and she gets a score, and she again lands on her foot. And you can tell that she immediately senses that something's a little bit wrong. But she starts running back on defense, as Yumika, leads a charged offense, and Taiki looks worried again. And when it cuts to the court after that, something's gone wrong, because Taiki starts having a flashback. He just thinks about how, like his mother comments like, "Oh, you're always like going to school early." And he just thinks to himself, "It's because there's always someone there who's earlier than me." And Chinatsu was always the first one there to practice, and now in this moment, she is clutching her ankle in pain because she has injured it in one of the most important games that she's ever played in. And so everything stops. Her team's mates rush over to her. Taiki runs down from the stands. He starts to go in the back of the bleachers, and by the time that he comes out on the court level, she's being checked out by a doctor, and he says, "Let's get you to the hospital." And she has to leave the game. Yumika is in shock over this, and we just get a really quick summary of the rest of the game, which is that Aimee put up a good fight. They had some really good defense, but Yumika was unstoppable. And eventually, Saisho wins 72-69.
A big upset.
Yep. And so that's it. That's as far as they're going to go as a team this year. And later on, Taiki is just by himself. He's on his phone. He's texting Chinatsu, "Are you okay?" And he starts to grimace, but then Yumika comes up from behind and grabs him by the shoulder, and she's like, "How is she?" And she's like, "Why, Chi?" She spent the most time with the ball. She never ran away from basketball. So why? And that's just it. That's just the chapter, is this these two kids having to contemplate the unfairness of it.
Yeah. I don't want to say I called it. But I did say that I was like, we're dramatically due for one of these two to not succeed, and it feels more dramatically fitting that Chinatsu would be the one to fall early. I didn't know it would be because of an injury. That's very sad and painful. That's always brutal when a sports series kind of ends a bit of the way with that. Like, it's kind of how the Hinata's journey in Haikyuu also ends, at least as we intimately follow it anyway. He has a long career after that. But yeah, like, injuries are just such a brutal thing. And I think there is, just a confrontation of the cruelty of the universe in this moment of just like, how can this possibly happen? Taiki just wants to kind of hear something. She didn't get the chance to play a full game with her friend even. Her friend has to be like, I came back and win. I won, but like, did I really? Like, it's very brutal. The score was so close. It was only a 3-point difference, so you had to feel like Chinatsu would have been a decisive factor in that. I don't know. There's a lot of things going on here that are very dramatic, but this is good storytelling, and I am excited to see more of what happens in that box that is so blue.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see where things go from here. How much, we get to see of these kids' lives when one of them is no longer, following the dream that they started off the series with. At least that's how the narration makes it seem. Yeah. It says very, very bluntly, like, that's it. That's as far as they get this year.
They lost,
and it's Chinatsu's last year in high school. So,
in addition, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But this also might mean Chinatsu has to leave, because that was the condition her dad set. He's like, as long as you're still playing, we'll allow it. But if she's out, there's still a lot of the school year. They may just be like, well, you should come live with us.
This is the start of the third year. Yeah. Like, it's only a few months into it, because this is like spring and the year doesn't end until winter.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's going to be what's really interesting about this. I mean, we've been setting up this idea, with the conversation between Haruyu and Yodo, that, hey, there's more to life than just, high school sports. Yes. So are we going to follow Chinatsu as she, finds that for herself? Is it going to be rededicating herself to basketball? Like, is she going to want to pursue it in college, or is she going to find something else that she's interested in? It could be a lot of things, because Blue Box is a odd series, and I say odd only in terms of, like, for the magazine that it's in, it doesn't have the same narrative conventions, so it makes it more unpredictable.
It'll be curious to see where they kind of go from here, but that's the fun of Blue Box, is just following development. They've succeeded at kind of everything it's attempted to do, so I am along for the ride. In a similar way, Nick,
while we're all feeling blue, let's move on.
Maybe I could have a vortex of some kind, and
you could have two blue vortexes.
I was gonna say, wow, I really have earned it, haven't I? Two blue vortexes, fancy.
Yeah, you gotta share them with Boruto, though.
Never mind, I'll kill myself.
No,
I'm gonna go drink some bleach.
Chapter 6.
I'm sitting
3
there
years.
pouring 4 photos of Kumamura into my mouth. Why isn't this working?
Please. Bleach is only like 5% Kumamura. If that. Alright. Chapter 6 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. 3 years. Featuring green-ass Shikamaru. That is a green-ass shirt. Shikamaru has gone to meet with the Council of Elders, which I think we've seen, once before, like when Danzo
I was gonna say, I feel like Danzo spoke to them at one point.
Yeah. So they're talking about us. Oh, that Boruto is here, and we're recapping situations from previous chapters. So they just kind of recap the previous chapters and what they want Shikamaru to do. But as Shikamaru turns to leave, one of them says, "It's been 3 years, the period you yourself designated. Stop daddying. Formally accept the title of Lord Eighth. You're weakening our position, not just with the Land of Fire, but the other villages as well." And it's established that apparently, like, yeah, I guess after Naruto left, like, they've been having, like, some troubles, I guess.
Sure.
Because...
theoretically, there should have been massive changes after Boruto was seemingly killed and 3 years had passed without an official Hokage, like an official leader. Yeah. Granted, do we know any of these changes? No. This was a time skip in name only.
The fiscal budget, Quinn. Yeah. I'm going to allude to that in the most boring possible terms.
What a pathetic use to try to build a world.
We have a budget. We're real people.
Yeah, a budget. There's all these things we do with our money that we need to consider. Have we even thought about the budget? Our ninja budget?
Our ninja 4-year plan?
It's so obnoxious. I hate this series.
All right, Shikamaru in his office, smoking a cigarette. Ino comes in and is like, "Hey, here's that data you wanted, I guess." And Shikamaru's like, "Thanks. Why did you want it? This is a really old mission log." And Shikamaru's like, "Just curiosity. You can go now, Ino." So she turns to leave, and then she stops and communicates back to him with her communication mental telepathy jutsu. So that was just like an excuse for me to meet with you, right? What did you actually want to talk about? Which is admittedly kind of nice. That like, oh, these two old teammates who go way back, she understood that there was more to it based on just the circumstances without him having to tell her.
Yeah. It feels as though the clues were there. There was definitely something's up, but I do like, that we're able to familiarize ourselves again with oh, right, these are like old teammates and friends.
Mm-hmm. And he tells her through their connection, "Hey, I just make a private connection between us, so it's just you and me talking. I don't want the sensor unit listening, and I don't want Ada or Kawaki or Amado listening either. No one." Which does actually suggest this is why they're doing it this way, is that Ada can't actually spy on their conversation with her ability if they do it this way. If they were to talk in person, then she could. Anyway, she says, "Look, do as I say, because you're the only one I can ask for this, all right?" And so she agrees. We cut over to where Kawaki is. Ada tells him what she saw, which was they're developing, they're trees, they're developing personalities and stuff. They have individual targets that they want to come after. And they also want to kill Naruto as well. And also me. And Kawaki says why? And Ada's like, "I don't know."
Question mark?
Well, Naruto is in my hands right now, and I'll just get rid of these things too. But then Damon, the wise, sagacious Damon, says, Boruto and Sasuke are the only ones besides us who know the Hokage's alive. And though no one's likely to believe those two because they're criminals, if the Claw Grimes were to come here looking for the Hokage, wouldn't someone eventually figure out that you lied?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Feels like this is a conversation that shouldn't have taken 3 years to happen, but sure. Yes.
Just hit a pause button on everything.
It does feel like that in a lot of ways. Every character for the past 3 years has just kind of been like, sup. Carry on.
All right.
Love the weather today.
And then Kawaki just like leaves, and Ada's like, "Where are you going? Leave me alone. Spy on me if you want to find out." It's like, all right. It's good to know that you like acknowledge that you can never actually be alone while this woman exists, but okay. Goes outside. Mitsuki is out there brooding, and he's like, "Yeah, it's my job to guard you and Ada." Okay. Cut away from them. It's Boruto hanging out with Sumire and Sarada. Sarada's being like, "Oh God, I hugged him.
This is
Oh God."
so weird. I hate this. She's so like, oh, Dogi, I can't believe I threw myself at him like that. Like, you hugged
were happy
him.
to see him.
Chill out. What is this? I understand you're all supposed to be kids, even though, like, it feels like the manga is trying to be like, no, actually, you're, like, adults or whatever. But, like, even then, this is just, like, dorky and stupid. This is, like, old school Kishimoto fucking how to write a woman.
Kishimoto has notes for all the chapters and for all the characters and stuff, and his notes for Sarada are loves Boruto. Question mark after that?
Yeah. Woman? Question mark?
Woman.
It just says fashion? Question mark? Question mark? Question mark? Shopping?
Sasuke's daughter and trails off. Likes Boruto. No, wait,
wears
that already.
Big jacket. Parentheses. Boruto's? Question mark?
Impractical heels. Underline, 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 underline.
Yeah.
So, Sumire clearly senses like, oh my God, these two fucking. I guess I'll be the the mature one here. It's like, so how are things, Bart? Yeah. And then Bart's like, oh yeah, same for you, Sarada. I never imagined you'd jump at me like that. It's like, what is with you? So, then Sumire brings up, are you sure that you should be here, like, for very long? Like, someone's gonna detect you. And he's like, oh, I erased my chakra signature. I mean, Kawaki will detect me at some point, but anyway. So I need to tell you about Sasuke. He got absorbed by the Ten Tails. Blah, 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 blah. Fortunately, that recap happens off screen. Kawaki is like, I sense Boruto's presence. Cut back to Boruto and Sarada. And, oh wait, the explanation doesn't happen off screen.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, we absolutely have the discussion. We cut away just to be like, no, Sasuke is coming. But then you're like, oh, wait, no, he's not coming. Mitsuki is coming.
Yeah. So they have the explanation for the things that we already knew. We learned nothing in that sequence. And then we cut back to Mitsuki is being monitored by the sensory ninja people. And he goes, oh, Lord Eighth. And Shikamaru is like, what is it? Boruto is here somewhere in the village. Oh, how do you know that? Oh, Kawaki sensed him with their connection and stuff. Can you get Ada to pinpoint his precise location? And Shikamaru's like, wait, where's Kawaki? Don't worry about it. He's knocked him out. And it's like, oh, okay. if when a character did something kind of unpredictable, okay. So, then we cut back to Boruto and Sarada and Sumire, and they're just like sitting down, having a chat about stuff. Very calmly going through this Otsutsuki thing. They talk about how Code's claw grind thing, maybe it caused the chakra tree stuff to evolve in an unpredictable way. At that moment, Shikamaru starts talking to Boruto through Ino's jutsu. And he's like, hey, listen, it's just you, me, and Ino talking. This is an unofficial transmission. We're the only ones talking, okay? And Boruto's like, so I hear you're Hokage now. Are you sure that you should actually, like, be doing this with me? And Shikamaru's like, I'm just the interim Hokage. I'm not formally assumed the title. Okay? And Boruto's like, that's not the point. Why should I trust you? And Shikamaru's like, you're about to have company. You need to go. And a snake appears around Boruto.
It's one of these things where, like, we can't, like, have a cool conversation because the characters need to, like, Boruto needs to be obnoxious and annoying or whatever. So I don't know. Yeah, Snake shows up, action scene.
Yep. So the snake starts coiling around Boruto, but before it can bite him, he snaps his sword out of its sheath and sends it flying, and then he uses the flying Raijin technique to teleport to it so that he can escape the snake coil. It's like, all right, it's nice.
Cool.
Mitsuki shows up. He's got like seal release looking stuff. His hair is all flowy, and he's got spectral snakes coiling around him and everything. And it's like, we finally meet again, you know, because that's how all ninjas act, is they have to do dramatic entrances with speeches and stuff when they're trying to take down the person that they, you know, want to kill. And Sarai's like, stop, listen, and he's like, no. Anyway, snakes attack.
He does say, he acknowledges, he's like, something, he must be lying to you some way, but like, step aside because I can't control my strength.
Because he's, you know, 14 and he thinks that sounds cool. So snakes fly out of him. Boruto slashes through them with his lightning sword thing. And then Boruto jumps up in the air. And while he's up in the air, he just says, hey, Sarada, I swear I'll rescue Master Sasuke and everyone else who's turned into trees. What a sentence.
Now, Nick, I know we sort of moved past it real quick, but there was like a big little action scene going on there real quick. And of course, Sarada is probably the other person alongside Boruto who most intimately know all of Mitsuki's techniques. And she wants to protect Boruto, and she's the leader of this team. So what cool action thing?
And she has super punching powers.
Yeah, so what cool action does she contribute to the scene?
Her jacket droops off one shoulder.
But it always does that, so she has to do something, right?
No, wait, hang on. Oh, you're right. The action scene starts with it drooping off her shoulder. I guess nothing happened. I guess nothing happened on her end. Okay. She's just like, goes, no, boy, stop it, no!
She's like, Mitsuki, don't.
It doesn't even succeed in that.
He's shooting out his fucking stand attack, and she's like, stop, what are you doing? Oh my god,
no,
Mitsuki.
Don't. Mitsuki, no, don't. You don't understand. Okay.
Oh my gosh, boys, please. Shopping.
Guys, stop it. Why don't we all just get along and go to the mall together?
Sarada would be 100% cooler if she was just a valley girl super into shopping and she just really played into it all the time. Like, what are we doing? We have to be getting ready for the junior ball.
Yeah, that would be like a third character trait. That's giving Kishimoto too much credit right now with her. Glasses. That's one. There we go. She's got glasses. So Boruto says, like, I'll rescue everyone who's turned into trees, as well as, no, never mind, I'll be back. Okay, like, I guess there's something that he doesn't want to bother to tell her right now, and we're supposed to think that that's ominous and whatever. It was like, all right, whatever. I'm sure that's not nearly as important as that ominousness seems to indicate. He gets away. He literally flies away. And Mitsuki stands there.
This series has gotten so much less cool since it was revealed characters could just Dragon Ball fly.
So Boruto flies away.
I feel like I need to stress. I've referenced Dragon Ball 3 different times today so far for techniques. I know Dragon Ball is not the only series that did them. It's just the one that comes to popular consciousness, particularly when it comes to series that were clearly inspired by it. I just don't want people to come in like, you know, Quinn, people have flown in manga since before Dragon Ball.
So Boruto Astro Boy flies away.
Yeah.
And as he flies off, he continues communicating with Shikamaru through the telepathic link. And he's like, you know, you could have made it so that Mitsuki wouldn't have attacked us if you actually wanted to you know, talk, right? And Shikamaru points out, like, you know, everyone in the village wants to capture you, okay? And it's not like I could stop him, because if I did, it would look really weird if I did that. And Boruto's like, all right, what are you trying to do? And Shikamaru says, look, there are things I can see and do because I'm Hokage right now. So I can't aid you openly. But there are things I can do to support you in my own way. And I want your help as well. No! Listen to the whole thing. Listen to the whole thing. Jesus. You're actually Uzumaki Boruto, aren't you? And Ino, of course, can hear this whole thing because she's the one providing the link. She's like, "Wait, what the fuck's going on?" But Boruto doesn't reply, so Shikamaru keeps on going on. Like, look, I actually am like having trouble accepting that myself, and it didn't even occur to me until Amato brought it up in that past chapter where Shikamaru was listening in on Amato, like talking to Sumire about stuff. And he's just like, I kind of realized that maybe my own memories were fabricated, and it is kind of far-fetched, but things actually do make more sense if we were to flip your position with Kawaki's. So tell me the truth, Boruto. So Boruto lands on the outskirts of Konoha, and he's like, how far does the mind transfer thing reach? Is like about 100 kilometers outside the village. Okay, well, I gotta go because there's a loose end I gotta tie up, and there's a snake hanging out around his waist, a snaky snake that's allowed Mitsuki to track him, and Mitsuki's coming bearing down on him, and he's Naruto running towards him. So they're gonna fight now.
Yep. Look, as far as Boruto chapters go, I have less to complain about with this one than most times, so in that way, it's fine. I like that characters are finally starting to acknowledge that, like, hey, maybe this dumb thing we've done is not making sense. Maybe I should question things a little bit more. And I think that Mitsuki being loyal to Kawaki, but being like, I hate you in a way I don't feel like I'm supposed to hate the Hokage's son, is one of the more interesting relationships. It feels like that's like the only thing that's like interesting to happen of consequence at this time skip. Everyone else just feels like it's like, oh, my relationship is completely changed or not changed at all. Like his at least feels like it's a different development. So that stuff's cool. Like, I'm actually kind of excited to see this fight. Also, Mitsuki gets to do something in Boruto. This is crazy.
This is easily the most interesting note that we have left off Boruto with in a long time. There are still definitely intrinsic problems with the series that it doesn't feel like are ever going to get fixed. But look, if we have to get to a point of Boruto being fairly okay again, like it was several years ago, by flying in the face of everything that was set up in the past, like, year and a half, I'm totally fine with that. It doesn't matter if it's the most clumsy justification for abandoning all these terrible ideas if we just get to something good. So, let's do it. Sure.
I'll go aboard
Chainsaw Man Hunters.
Chainsaw Man. Brum, brum.
Chainsaw Man Hunters is the name of the chapter, which is chapter 153. So Denji had a good time last time. He was having a great time being Chainsaw Man again, cutting himself and other people open, guts everywhere. Yay! But he gets up after having, killed, I guess, the other weapon devil people. And he's like, hey, yeah! Did you guys see that? I beat the bad guys! Ow! Oh, blood coming out of my body. Oh, God, that hurts. Nayuta, however, reacts to what he said last time, which was maybe didn't want to hang around with her anymore. And she's like, you don't want to be with me? She's very distressed now. Also distressed are all the people who, have seen all the mayhem unfolding over the past, several hours. And they've got spears and are looming over Denji now. And one guy with a megaphone says, hey, this is a mass chainsaw head devil outbreak, so everyone evacuate the area and take shelter. And Denji says, can I evacuate too? Poor boy. So they're like, oh, yeah, we gotta capture that chainsaw devil guy. And so one of them throws a net on him, which I don't know what the guy thinks that's going to do.
He's like, got him! I saved the day! Shit, I guess that was how a lot of scenes in Conquest of the Longbow ended. Someone would throw a net on him. Got him!
Did you ever watch that cartoon Sheep in the Big City?
Vaguely, yeah.
There's one episode where, like, the army that's trying to capture sheep, they run out of, like, budget and stuff, so their plan is just, like, to throw a blanket over sheep. And there's a moment where they thrown it over him, And the narrator's like, "Oh no, poor sheep! How is he going to get out of this one?" He's just like there, all sad with the blanket hanging over him.
I've been there before.
What this feels like.
Yeah, sometimes I get a blanket thrown over me, and I'm like, whatever happens, happens. I'm not. Yeah. What can I do? I've had a good run.
Oh God. So.
This guy's gonna be so happy with himself. I mean, he dies, I'm pretty sure, later. But, like, if he got to go home to his family, he's like, honey, you won't believe what happened. I saw Chainsaw Man, and I knew I had to stop. I'm like, oh, what did you do? I took a big net, and I threw it on. I'm like, hey, he's made of chainsaws. That doesn't seem like that would do much of anything. No, I grabbed the net, and I tossed it on him. He was helpless. Like, I feel like you didn't listen to me. He's made of chainsaws, honey. That's why he's called that. No, he was helpless. And then we started poking him with sticks.
Poking him with sticks? Pointy sticks!
Yeah, honey, I don't think... You weren't there. You don't understand. These sticks, they were mad pointy. The pointiest sticks you've ever seen. And this net had big wide holes for us to do that. Just like, well, big wide holes in the net feels like even more of a problem. It really feels like this net idea wasn't very good. How much did you spend on this net? It's like $400, $500. It's a good net. I wanted to make sure the net worked.
The net's made of silk. Premium, genuine silk. Just glides onto the person. Yes, also glides off of them, but
glides on and off real smooth. That's what Chainsaw Man said. He's like, it's a silk, and then he rips straight out of it. But not before we stabbed him with a couple sticks, I'll have him know.
That's the great thing about it. It just glides off your target so you can take it off real easily to throw it at someone else.
I saw another Chainsaw Man on the way home, and I threw what was left of my net on them. Honey, get those steaks out of the freezer. Start to frost them. We're celebrating tonight.
I'll tell you something. I made the way the Chainsaw Man was acting. I'll bet the net devil got real strong after that.
That's like a hairnet on the counter. It's like, yes, you made me more powerful today.
So I'm like, oh, I get it now. Fumiko comes in and, just like, that Chainsaw Man's safe. He's not our enemy. And everyone kind of looks around, and they look at one of the people who was actually, like, watching when the Chainsaw Man attack happened. And she said, yeah, he was fighting other devils and eating them, but I don't know if we can trust him. And Denji, still very compliant, under the net, says, I'm on Team Humans, dudes! And a scruffy-looking guy pokes him with a spear. And he says, your friends ate my grandpa! Ow! Poor Denji. And then they dump gasoline on him, and they're like, oh, somebody light him on fire! Somebody get a lighter! It's like, guys, this is not how you light someone on fire.
These guys have never killed anybody before. That's what we're discovering here. These are all first timers, but they just want to feel like they're part of the movement, that they're part of something.
They are poking him with a spear, though, so that's good. So that keeps happening. Naita insists, like, that's the real Chainsaw Man, and then Scruffy Guy is like, that's all the more reason to kill him, because my wife might turn human again. Wait, what are you talking about? My wife, a chainsaw spouted from my wife's head. She turned into a devil. If we kill this guy, maybe the chainsaws on people's heads will go away. And Naita's like, there's no way that'd work. And Scruffy Guy backhands Naita away. So, don't like him. Hitting a child. And now Denji actually does break out of the net. Oh no, the net!
No! Buddy, you didn't see it. He was in that net for it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels! Pages! Babe! 5 pages! This is crazy.
How do
you think they're gonna make a manga about me?
What?
Maybe I'll end up being the net devil.
So Denji slashes and he grazes the guy. Like, it's amazing how little this guy was injured by a chainsaw buzzing into his arm. And immediately they're like, he attacked a human, get him! So the guy with the lighter comes forward and Denji cuts his hand off. Add it to the counter, everybody. Just got another one.
Again, so, still not the last time we're going to talk about someone getting an arm taken out this week.
They keep on poking him with spears. Someone calls for another lighter, and then they're like, you know, there's that building's on fire over there.
That's maybe the best subtle humor I've seen in a manga recently. It is such a great joke. They're like, who has the lighter? Anyone have a lighter? Oh, wait. This entire house is on fire.
The woman who had been witnessing everything, she grabs Nayuta, scoops her up, and she's like, oh, come on, it's dangerous here. And Nayuta says, no, let go! Chainsaw Man's my family. Aww. They keep on poking Denji with spears, and Nayuta watches this happen, and then she looks up, and she sees, in some way, Denji, not Chainsaw Man, with his arms spread out. And she gets a look on her face, and then as they're poking Denji, suddenly the woman grabs the spear out of Scruffy Guy's hands and then karate chops him. Ha!
I do love that. That's the way she goes to attack when she's mind controlled. She's like, ha!
As Nayuta has used her control abilities to help out Denji, and she says, "Run, Chainsaw Man!" And that's it. That's our chapter this week. So things are looking not so happy.
I mean, I like that she is affirmed. My greatest hope, my greatest fear was like this chapter was just gonna be her being like, "Why don't you love me, big brother?" or whatever. Like I was like, please don't let me have to read that. But she is reminded of her love and wants to try to protect him. This might not go well for her though, because now she's revealing that she has powers. So this angry mob could very easily suddenly turn all their aggression towards this child. And it's scary. So I'm hoping good things happen here, and I don't have my heart broken.
We'll see. All right, let's go through Kaiju number 8 B-side, Chapter 2, Buried Fire. So Hoshina has volunteered to come along on a kaiju extermination mission because he was meeting with Ashiro, and something came up. So he is reading a little book while they're on their way, and the platoon leader, Ebina, rather, is like, "What the hell are you doing?" It's like, "Oh, sorry. It's I'll put away if it bothers you. It's a little routine of mine." A routine? Those are important. Make sure you do it right.
I do like that. Huh? Well, those are very significant to your life, so make sure you give it due justice.
That's very good. He obviously is aware of the Hoshina family reputation, and he's like, "Look, I understand that, like, you know, you're very skilled with the blade, but times have changed." And Hoshina just thinks to himself, like, "Yeah, I know. Like, I'm not gonna butt in on anything. I'm just gonna do what I can." But he of course thinks to himself, like, which means cutting down kaiju, because that is proof of my existence on the battlefield. So they arrive at the scene, talk about how there are these weird lizard-type kaiju that are emerging from the mountain region. So they say, all right, we got to exterminate them all. Everyone breaks, and they start heading to where there are a set that have been detected, a group of 4 on the tracks, and they are very lizard-like. These are like freaking iguana kaiju, it looks like.
I just kept seeing screenshots of this chapter, and kept assuming, I was like, is there a chapter where they just fight big lizards? Is that what this prequel series is about? But I guess those are technically kaiju.
So they come in, Hoshina gets his blades ready, but Ebina, that's an interesting name, Ebina orders all of the group to just fire. They open fire in a huge barrage, but one manages to get away. And so Hoshina goes after it, and he bounds across roofs, chasing for it, and it goes to chomp on him, and he just does a very, samurai-style dash through it and cuts it down, as he goes. And Ebina, rather the lizard even like turns to look at him, and Hoshina just says, "Yeah, that did the trick," and its head falls off. He contacts Ebina to let him know that he's neutralized it. And Ebina's like, "All right, good job. Return to the squad." And Hoshina is like, "Yeah, I knew that the Hoshida power still works, yes." But there's still gunfire going on, and he spots that in the distance there is a really, really big lizard kaiju. So he starts heading for it and knows like, okay, this thing is like way bigger. But he engages, the thing shoots a blast of acid in a long arc that manages to catch Hoshina in the shoulder, and it starts like melting off some of his body armor. But it's fortunately only a grazing blow. And he realized, like, okay, this is bad because, like, you know, it's close quarters combat that he has to engage in. And Ebina realized, like, look, yeah, they use this saliva of theirs to melt whatever they eat into mush, and their range is 20 to 40 meters, so it's bad magic for you. But Hoshina's like, look, even when I'm faced with projectiles, they're still away. And he darts through the alleyways and buildings, manages to get to the creature's blind spot, and it does turn to face him, but he's already up in the air right beside his head, and he's like, it's too late. You're in my range. And he does a big air slicer attack, but doesn't finish it off. His blades can't cut all the way through the fat in its neck. And now he's up in the air as the thing is taking aim at him with its acid saliva, and he can't maneuver. So he gets ready to block with his swords, but fortunately Ebina's unit arrives on the scene, and they blast it with ice rounds to start to freeze its body, and then nail it with regular rounds to shatter it. And they kill it and rescue Hoshida's ass. So Ebina calls over to him and says, like, all right, look, go check to see if there's any civilian stragglers. We've gotten good, info on these things. We know that there's like parents and children taking shelter somewhere nearby. Hoshina starts to object. He's like, look, I can still fight. And Ebina says, look, I've seen what you're capable of. You did a great job, but you're not suited for facing these kaiju. We need the right people for the right job. So if you find a Yoju, inform us. And so Hoshina, walks off and lets them get ready to handle it. And he thinks to himself, I've lived with the sword this whole time. If you take the blade away from me, what in the hell will be left? And as he thinks that, oh, big old kaiju showed up. Is he going to follow orders, or is he going to not? Oh, boy.
That's the same one from original, or the one he first saw when they showed up, right?
Is it?
I thought there's... Hold on. I just closed that tab. There's like a big one he sees at some point. Maybe I just saw this panel twice and I'm dumb. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just done. I guess he just sees an even bigger one. Yeah. Never mind. Ignore me, Nick. Ignore me. I'm dumb.
Okay. So, yeah, that's it for that chapter. It's, it's showing definitely a young, immature Hoshina, as he admitted prior to us going to the flashback sequence. So we know that he survives, but we don't know much else.
That would be wild. He dies in this. We're like, wait a minute. Who is
you died?
We're supposed to be following this series then. Yeah, good stuff. We have to talk about Spy Family Mission 94, which really threw me for a loop. I really thought this was the start of a new murder mystery arc for this series. And then you're like...
This chapter is perfect.
Yeah, you're like, well, how's that going to work when you have a character who can read minds and the character who's like a super efficient spy? And the answer is it doesn't.
It doesn't. So we start off the chapter with Anya watching Bondman. Bondman is skiing in the episode that she's watching, and she's like, I want to do that too, Papa. And Lloyd says, yeah, we don't have time for that. She turns, looks at him, starts crying, and now they're going skiing. Here they are. So they're going skiing. Your comments, they're like, hey, she worked really hard on her exam. She deserves a little reward. Yeah, isn't that nice? Unfortunately, Anya's not very good at skiing because she is 4 and has never skied before.
Yeah. No one taught her French fry pizza.
Exactly. So Lloyd's trying to help her out. Yor has the opposite problem, which is that she can't stop. And so she's like, how do I stop? And Lloyd says, like, you've got to, put your skis perpendicular to the slope, lean in toward the mountain. And she tries to do that, but she instead ends up slipping and flipping over backwards. But then she, like, bounces off a tree, does a perfect landing after doing a quadruple upside down axle. And Anya thinks that this is great. And Lloyd's flabbergasted. And so she has to say, there was a gymnastics teacher that I grew up with.
I love that she's doing it as she's still trying to recover from everything, and then she just falls.
Yep. So Anya doesn't have a good time for a while because she keeps on falling, and she's like, skiing's not fun, I want to go home.
Aww.
Great little kid moment. She's like, I can't swoosh. Also, there's no evildoers to fight like Bonnet. But Bond comes up. He's carrying a little sled with him. He's pulling it, and Anya gets in the sled, and she goes sledding with him. Yay! And she gets to go up and down the mountain with Lloyd. They go along together. Yor still can't control her skis. She's going off in her own direction. But a good time is had by all.
Yeah.
But then a blizzard blows in, and they can't get back home because the roads are closed. So they've got to shelter down somewhere for the night. Fortunately, there's an inn nearby. There's one room available, one vacancy for them. So they go in and they're like, okay, yeah, we'll get a room. Poor innocent Yor, she's really, really flustered over just the idea of sharing a room with Lloyd. So that's a little bit distressing for her.
Yeah, this is the new. There was only one bed. There's only one room.
There's only one room.
Just like, ah!
Oh dear!
Is there not a second hotel I can stay at? I can't believe we're gonna sleep at the same hotel.
So we are introduced to our side cast, our core group of suspects for this case.
It's so funny. I didn't pay enough attention to their names because I was just going through.
So it's a group of college kids who are here to ski. Max Slacker, a drama queen, short on credits, which is short on. What is
the classic short on family? You've known about them, Nick. We've seen them in the news for a while.
And the one senior of the group, Nita Jobsoon, which is a great name. And then we've got the hosts of the lodge, Roger Hostman and Spolissa Hostman.
No, it's Spousa Hostman.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Spousa,
she's the spouse.
Spousa Hostman.
Yeah, Spousa Hostman.
And a lodge employee, Porter Part-Timer.
There's a Spider-Verse or something like that where this is what Peter Parker's name is.
And then two more guests, the tabloid writer Hack Scriver, and the avid skier Guy Loves to Ski.
I really did not pay enough attention to this chapter because, like, I was just going through. I was like, I'll get the details later, and then at the moment I looked at the names, it's like I should have known what this chapter was going to be from the names.
And they start talking about the hash slinging slasher of this chapter, a monster who emerges during blizzards and murders the townsfolk one by one, the Red Snowman, because he's covered with blood splatter from his victims. And Hack Scriver is a little bit drunk right now, so he turns to look at the family. He's like, his favorite targets are apparently noisy kids who stay up past dark. And they're like, oh, don't scare the child. And Anya, of course, just looks to Yor and Lloyd. Is like, let's go look for the Red Snowman.
Yeah, let's find the murder guy.
So everyone, kind of like starts breaking and going to different parts of the lodge. Spousa says, be sure to come back in an hour because I'll be serving one of our famous cakes. And Anya says, cake! Because she knows what her priorities are. Yeah. Good girl. They get to the room. It's a pretty spacious room, honestly, because it's like a full double room, and there's like a lounge chair and a sofa. And Lloyd says, like, okay, well, I'll sleep on the sofa. You and Anya can take the beds, okay? And Yor's like, oh my god, sleeping in the same room as Lloyd. I have to go cool off in the blizzard. Gets a full like Sonic the Hedgehog running with her legs going. Lloyd says like, okay, I'm gonna step out too. So you stay here till it's cake time, because he's like, I want to, like scope out if we need to have any like escape routes and stuff, because he's the consummate paranoid professional. But Anya says, if you're going exploring, I want to come too. And this might be my favorite part of the chapter, is just the follow-up panel of Anya going off down the hall going, yay!
Yay! I do want to note that we're already past 9 o'clock, so we want to...
We'll keep going.
Yeah.
We'll get it going. It's cake time. However, they realize that Max is missing after we've just gotten a glimpse of a demented person, a shadowy person who's got a sharp thing. And so everyone goes looking for Max, and when they find him, gasp! His body is on the ground, covered in blood, with the weird sharp object sticking out of his back. Oh my god! But Lloyd realizes, like, wait, he's not dead. He's still breathing. So he starts, ordering people to get him some supplies so he can do an emergency surgery. And they're like, oh, who are you? So, oh, I'm a doctor.
I'm Lloyd Doctorman. They're like, that's a normal name for our community.
Yeah. They're like, well, but who did this? It's him, the Red Snowman. The murder weapon, or attempted murder weapon, is a frozen carrot.
Yep, that's how frozen carrots work. You can stab straight through people's bodies with them.
Ominous narration proclaims, this first attack was but a tragic prologue to far greater horrors. No, it wasn't. Turns out that Lloyd was able to save the kid's life. And then the lodge owner comes by and says, oh my god, someone has cut off phone line. Oh my god, who would do such a thing? Everyone calm down. And Lloyd says, I can repair the phone lines. And if not, I could make a wireless radio out of household materials. Who are you? He's like, oh, I had a part-time job repairing electronics in my college days. So he fixes the phone line, contacts the police. The lodge owner says, however, oh, they won't be able to be here until morning because of the storm. But what if the killer is still here? And Lloyd says, yeah, the killer is not a stranger. I did a full sweep of the property, and there were no signs of any infiltration. And there's no way that you could reach the phone line without coming inside. No one would have spotted them because we were all here. There were lots of witnesses in the lobby, and no one's seen anyone doing anything suspicious. One of the college girls, however, is like, the Red Snowman flew in from the sky and attacked us. So didn't listen to any of that. Lloyd keeps on pressing the point of, like, the attacker wasn't a snowman. It wasn't an outsider. The would-be killer is one of us. Dun, 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 dun. Yor is shown as one of the potential killers because, of course, she was missing during the murder. A gasp. And, of course, she's like, Lloyd, I swear that it probably wasn't me. But they still say, like, she wasn't in the lobby and stuff. And she's like, no, I was out front. And she thinks to herself, I never kill people outside of work, which is a great justification for it.
Yeah. She doesn't say that part out loud, but...
Yep. One of them, the hack writer, tries to get them to tie Yor up. And I do like that Lloyd, like, grabs his hand and is, like, crushing his wrist. And he's like, no, I will find the real culprit and prove their worth. The lodge owner gets an evil look on his face and thinks to himself, no one so much as suspects it was me. Same panel, Anya can read his mind and turns to look at him. He's the bad guy! So he starts recapping his plan, which is he just doesn't like the ski club. He thinks that they're annoying, so he was going to kill them all for some reason. So Bond is there too, so sees the future, sees when the next murders will take place. Anya reads his mind, sees a clock on the wall, and knows where it's going to happen. And she says, hey, Papa, let's go explore around the kitchen's back door at 11 tonight. And we just get a brief montage that afterward, partially because of that, Lloyd happens upon the killer right before the attack, uses his intuition photographic memory to uncover the various tricks and dismantle his carefully crafted alibi without making it seem like he was, causing any undue attention. And the man survived the knife attack after night in the hospital, so everything was okay. So, yeah, Anya and family are leaving for to go home. Yor says, oh, it was supposed to be your reward trip for working so hard. It got ruined. And, of course, Anya's like, it was like a real-life detective show. We caught the bad guy and everything. Best trip ever. Hooray. So, I love this chapter. It's amazing. It's very, very, very funny. And, got all hyped up like you did for like, oh, an awesome murder mystery thing, and then it was like, wait a minute, this won't work, and then the chapter's like, no, it wouldn't work, but here's what we're gonna do instead. Funny joke.
It is very silly, and it works very well. So I do like it. It just threw me off. I was like, finally, we're about to start the new arc in Spy Family. And I was like, no, you're not. This makes a lot more sense. There are way too many people here who have special powers.
Yep. So great stuff.
All right, Nick, let us talk about... Technically, we're trying to talk about 2 chapters of Eden Zero, but we're running low on time, so I'm basically just going to sum up the last chapter and the current chapter of Eden Zero, Chapter 272, Mother. So last chapter...
Mother.
Wolf Mother, as was noted. Shiki and Rebecca ran up to Mother, and Mother was like, all right, Shiki, you have a choice you have to make. You can either... save my life, guaranteeing the future of the cosmos, but all of your friends will die. Or I could save all of your friends, but I will die, dooming the existence of the galaxy. And the whole explanation is Shiki's like, I don't understand. I thought Universe Zero was supposed to be where like nobody died, basically. And she's like, that's how it is now, but like cosmic bullshit will just force those people to die. And as further established in this chapter, the people who would die is kind of like everybody. Like, I know we immediately think of like Valkyrie and Witch and stuff like that. But Shiki also died in one of the universes.
Shiki died in one of the loops. Rebecca has died in some of the loops. Yeah, like all of them will die.
Yeah, so the idea is that, oh no, these characters will die. So the option is save Mother and make sure that there is a future, or save everyone who lived in those universes, but no one will know what will happen then. Mother will die, though. So that's the situation, and Shiki's just like, okay, so what if I choose you, what happens? And Rebecca's immediately like, no, you can't do this, all of our friends. And he's like, I know, it's fine, I just want to know what I have to do to save you. And she's like, literally, just say those words. This is like a genie wish, my guy. That's pretty all much. You have to do. The moment you will do it, I will reclaim my place, and I will supply the cosmos with all the ether, and everything will be great. And she knows, like, I know this is an easy choice. Rebecca's like, we have to save our friends. Like, I don't want to do this to Mother, but there's only one choice here. And, you know, Mother comes in and is just like, if you do that, I will cease to exist, and in the near future, humankind will perish. All ether in the universe will dry up, and even the machines will die. And Rebecca's like, what the fuck are you? Like, who are you to like, give us this choice? Like, why are you making Shiki suffer like this? And she's like, it is all according to our agreement 20,000 years ago. And she starts to like glow, and there's a big beam in the distance, and she teleports them. She's like, I think you all deserve to see what happened 20,000 years before now. Back when I was a planet.
What?
A planet known as Earth.
Oh, okay. Like, literally, it's just like, when I was a planet. What? The planet Earth. Oh, okay.
Oh, I get it. Mother Earth. Whoa. So we're back 20,000 years ago. And Shiki and Rebecca, Pino, and Happy are just like kind of floating in the sky above the city. And they're like, oh, hey, look, there's like soda bottles there with bottle caps, like one of the relics. Oh, wow. What a cool detail of world building that definitely wasn't forgotten about.
Wow, Hero, did you play Fallout before writing this? Wow, okay.
And she's like, yes, I was once this beautiful, tranquil planet, but there were wars and destruction of nature, and before everyone realized that the planet was dying. Thank you. Love this. The air had been polluted, a mysterious disease appeared everywhere, disasters were striking.
Never happened.
Yeah, all of this is very unfortunate. But she's like, there were a few who tried to save it, like an American physicist and a girl from Japan. I just like that there's nothing so far offered for Hermit. She just happens to be also one of the people most significant to all of this. And
the 4 professions of manga: physicist, lawyer, sick person and student.
Yeah, but of course Shiki and them are like, oh wait, that's Herman and Valkyrie. What are they doing 20,000 years? And she's like, what you see is who they were when they were human. And yeah, also Regret and Ivory were also there. Whoa, witch and sister. And Rebecca's like, wait, is sister sick? Like, yes, this mysterious disease. So, all right. They also note that Cooper was his doctor, or was her doctor, and that Cooper was the one who attempted to cure her using this new ether therapy treatment. That trial would ultimately change my destiny forever.
Yeah, so the big reveal is that the planet that they were on a long time ago was Earth.
Which I assumed everyone kind of figured. Like,
yeah, everyone doing very Earth-like things, like, you know, with all the buildings and everything. Yeah. If anything, it feels like all those end-of-chapter teases of the flashback that we were getting before just kind of dulled the impact of this, and seem even more pointless now, because it feels like it would have been better if you just hadn't gotten those glimpses of what we were going to see seemingly in greater detail here. Also, very small detail. It's really weird that they clarify that Mio is an American and Mio is Japanese and Yuna is not, because Yuna is a very Japanese name. So it's just an odd decision there. I mean, like, look, I'm not going to say that I see all sorts of people who regret either. But
you don't have a couple of regrets in your life? I have to call all my regrets by middle names because there's too many of them. I was like, regret, and then like 4 of my friends looked at me, and I was like, oh, right, I forgot how common of a name this is. So I just call them regret 1, 2, 3, and 5.
No. I feel like I've had too few to mention. So
this might be more of a northeastern name. That makes sense. Yeah, you haven't been up here in the sort of the DMV region. Regret's a big name up here.
Regretville is what we call it.
Yeah.
Because of the...
this was sort of a Civil War thing. It was a big name for the Union soldiers. Regret. They're
the Union soldiers.
Yeah. They were like, hey, I have to name my child. What should I name them? You know what's a good saint name, right? Saint Regret. It's actually right above Saint Anger as the best saints. There's actually not a ton of competition between them.
Oh, man. Okay. Anyway, chapter bad. Moving on.
Pretty good. Let's talk about Cipher Academy, Nick.
Chapter 56 of Cipher Academy, The Final Floor. Morgue Floor. Sorry, actually, the chapter title is not that. I just got distracted by the big old titles for The Final Floor, which is Morgue Floor. The actual chapter title is Curse of War, and you must dig 2 graves. All right. Kagoe gets up and leaves the peanut gallery at the start of this chapter.
Haven't we gotten that one before? I feel like hold on, I'm gonna have to go and look at this. Carry on.
Go look at the list. Kagoe walks off because she's like, I mean, I've got, my 2 allies are the ones in this, so I don't really care. And so, she leaves, and her last note while this is going on is just to confirm what someone's like, but you're just fine with this? You're just like, yes, I am. Okay. So they're walking down a hallway that is just made of skulls and bones, just all sorts of corpses. And Toshisai says, if we fail to break codes, many of our allies will die. Conversely, many enemy soldiers will die if we do break them. If you're going to become the Emperor, you need to be aware of that. We won't be declared innocent just because we're on the home front. And she sits down at a table with Yuroha, and she says, I'd like to settle things between us, and not just because we're surrounded by skeletons. Introductory crosswords. Completely wrong intro wars. So going all the way back to when they had to write these crossword introductions from the first lesson in class. And Toshisai declares the rules are that they're going to be writing the other person's introductions instead of their own. It'll be a test of our encoding power and our ability to gather intel outside of wartime. So they established that, and Toshisai also says, like, yeah, thinking back to the first time we met, this is the most fitting last game for us. Because, of course, she challenged Iroha to get that from her. And Iroha's like, oh, she's still not over that? Okay. But before they actually throw down, she does hand over the information that Omomuro had gathered that Juwan passed on. And he says, like, yeah, I did think about betting on the outcome of the game, but I changed my mind. There's only one thing I want to put online in the battle against you. I'm betting my pride on this. And he ties his hair up, and we get this very cool, bizarre angle of the two of them getting set for their battle. It looks like it's upside down because of the angle that it's at. So everyone who has logged out, they've joined the Peanut Gallery to watch. So everyone is viewing this final showdown to determine the Code Emperor. And Omomuro and Yugata are start talking about, like, hey, this is going to be a key. The big thing here is going to see how much you change from the answers that they did earlier this year, and they both changed since then. We get a cool big spread of the two of them writing out their answers while thinking about the times that they've shared together, their memories together, getting to know each other.
I love this montage.
It's very nice. And Toshisai lays her crossword down, says that she's done. And we get, a look at her answers, which are like, hey, favorite relationship. And she's written down Enchan and Iro, because, hey, that's something that's changed. Iro has got a new best friend / more. I don't know. But, and she's also written down, like, cheerleading for one of them and stuff. And they do know that she left one answer the exact same. Which is kind of like a sign, like, oh yeah, she actually is so confident in herself, she didn't even bother changing one of the answers. So Iroha looks over it, and he says, like, yeah, I'm glad that you've gotten to know this much about me. Hey, would you mind looking at mine too? And Toshisai looks it over, and she is immediately stunned because what he has written down is a cipher answer. It's a very, like, simple one. He's just moved all of the syllables a single step up in the line, which is translated as, in English, moving one letter up in the alphabet. So, like, he's written down, like, commenting on, like, her sister that we have learned about, her favorite relationship, which is I actually bothered to translate some of these because it's a very simple one. It's one letter up. It's very straightforward. One of them is camaraderie, which sums her up very nicely. But the main point of it, because everyone's like, wait, what the hell is that? And our ninja girl says Caesar, as in the Emperor's Code, the Caesar cipher. And Iroha's like, yeah, I had her teach me how to use it on the way here, and I only slid everything up one letter. And Toshisai says, why? And Iroha says, well, because I respect you, and I think you're one rank above me, as in one letter grade up, essentially. But Toshisai says, why'd you encode your answers? Because no one has done that while doing the introductory crosswords. They just all like written out crosswords that spell out their names. And Iroha says, look, I had to write the introduction of the inner workings of a friend sometime, so I had to obfuscate it. And that kind of made me trail down. And he clearly seems like he is putting himself down during this whole thing. And it seems like he's going to concede, but Toshisai beats him to it. And she says, you win. I win in terms of resignation speed, though, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, I don't get it. Like, all that he did was just like this really simple cipher. But Nohime says, no, he answered a code with a code. This belief is revolutionary for the Digital Cipher Academy, for the whole academy itself. And Toshisai says to Iroha, you didn't use a code to hide some plot. You didn't use it to cover up a falsity, but rather to protect the truth. How surprising. And in flawlessly presenting a puzzle and answering it, I did nothing but earn myself the title of skilled soldier. And Iro starts to object, like, no, you're amazing. I just wanted to protect my friend. But Toshizai says, I called you an enemy, and you still said I'm your friend. That's more than enough to declare you the victor.
She looks so fucking happy, too.
She smiles.
Aww.
Really nice, genuine smile. And she calls him Irorin. She gives him a little pet name, like her other friends have for her.
It's so cute.
And she logs out, and that's it. Iro has declared the winner. He is explored the entire metaverse and comes across this digital treasure trove.
Yeah, Morgue! Nick, we finally got to the morgue!
Oh, the 50 billion morgue!
That'd be great. Koei shows up, she's like, so I didn't really account for like adjustments and how much things are worth. It turns out the 50 billion morgue is actually closer to 200,000 morgue, but it's gonna shoot right back up. You don't understand. More people are getting on board with the cryptocurrency.
Hold on to it.
Yeah. We need to encode a couple more puzzles for the blockchain, though. We need to mint a couple more frogs smoking blunts, and then the value of this is going to skyrocket. Where's everyone going?
This is a great, like, it feels like a nice microcosm and finale of the series as a whole, of like starting off with like puzzles that are weird and everything, and then gradually come to learn, wait a minute, the series isn't really about puzzles, it's about friendship.
It's about the friends we make solving puzzles.
And it's very sweet, so I loved it.
Very, very sweet. I can't wait to see the next major saga of Cipher Academy that's surely coming up.
Greens, Chapter 7, to the next! We see someone disembarking from a plane.
They're fancy. They have a suit just like me. Well, they have a vest. Yeah, I should have a vest.
Wearing a vest, and also a newsboy cap.
I should have a newsboy cap.
Haku and Chikara have just finished up their match because Haku had a huge breakthrough with his drive, discovered the key of swiveling his torso and stuff, and so he reflects back on it. Realized, like, oh, man, it was weird. I kind of like blocked out everything except just the ball during that moment. Maybe I like competing a bit more than I thought. And he also realized, like, I got better because I did this. Yeah. Because I was pushed to win. This must be what Oga was telling me about before. Then Chikara like turns to face him, and he's got tears streaming down from his eyes. He's like, "Farewell, Yesaki. Oga is all yours." Oh, right, that's what we were competing over, right? Yeah. So he tries to stop him, but Chikara's like, no, a man never goes back on his word. And Oga says to him when he goes to say goodbye to her, like, what, really? Why are you considering leaving? There are some fights a man can't run away from. And Oga says, like, I mean, okay, like, it's going to be hard to pick up after with you not being here because you're a shift. And immediately Chikara like goes into like shoujo vision mode.
It'll be so hard if you leave. Yeah.
And immediately he's like, I'm here for you. Flips on a dime immediately. So he like apologizes to Haku, like, I'm sorry I can't honor the terms of our deal. And Haku's like, it's fine. I'd be bummed if you left.
Hey, he's like, dude, you're actually kind of cool when you're not being a weird horned dog.
Haku immediately starts to get kind of full of himself. He starts getting that Tengu nose, like, I'm getting pretty good, aren't I? But now he realizes, like, I need to, like, go to the next step. I don't know what that is. So he is told, like, maybe you should try doing the newcomers tournament, which is happening next week. You should join up for that. We cut ahead to some time later, introduced to another worker at the driving range, Kome Toro, who is the only other female employee that we've met so far. She's hanging out with Oga for a bit, sees that, and we see that Haku is still practicing. He's practicing putting, though, and it's not working out so great for him. And he's like, oh, he gives us one of those, like, oh, right, this is a shonen sports manga moments of, like, here's the things you bring to a golf course. Yeah. Also, when you're golfing, you can use whatever club you want, except when you're on the green, and then you use a putter. Like, yes. Yep.
We got it.
That's all correct.
Wait, I'll have to explain the rules. Now, do you know that formally for a fact? Because I just assume, based off what I've done in Mario Golf. And I'll be honest, most of the other rules aren't applying it. You know, I don't know. I mean, they haven't mentioned if you could bring Yoshis or not.
Fire. You use how many super shots do you get per
I was gonna say no one's used power shots or strength mushrooms or anything.
Yep. I love this bit because Haku goes to someone for advice on how to putt, and he goes to Chikara because like, hey, you know, he owes me a favor now because I didn't force him to leave, and so he's like, hey, how do I putt straight? Listen. It's all about conveying your feelings. You just need to will it to happen. Apply a hard, firm stroke, and it'll slide. It'll go right in the hole. Just feel where you want the ball to go. Not going so great. And Kome comments like, "Why did he go to Shikara for help?" And she establishes that the best putter that they have there is Oga. And she's like, "Why didn't you teach him?" And Doug is like, nah. Like, well, okay. He's like, no, I can't teach him. So Haku keeps on practicing, looks over and sees that Oga is putting at a different area, and she is having way better luck. Like
every shot is in the hole, basically. It's overflowing. She's nailed so many shots in a row.
Doesn't even bother empty out the hole, just putt, makes it. And Haku's like, how are you doing that? Are you holding your club like this? And she just says, I just hit it until it became natural. You have to strike the ball perfectly every time when you putt. Your senses are important. Trimming your nails can make a difference. If you just copy someone else's style, it won't work. You got to find on your own what to do. And that's what makes it interesting when it comes to putting. It's a weird moment because it's like, this is going to be a little bit weird for me to say, but when in this moment, I'm like, I get why Chikara likes her. It's like, can you imagine like working when you're a kid at a range and you be someone like just this cool and together and stuff? You'd be like, I like them. So, and Haku is getting that way too, but in a much less like romantic sense. He's like, I don't really get anything about her, but she's amazing. I don't know anything about her scores or achievements. I don't even know what makes a golfer great, but I can just tell because all the effort she puts in, all the comments she has, that she shines so bright it hurts. And I'm sure that one day she's gonna leave us far behind. And before she does, I'd like to play a round of golf against her. Oh, that's nice. But Newsboy shows up, striking like a full at ease army stance when he does. Gonna join Imperium. So he's here to see Oga, approaches her, gets down on one knee and kisses her hand. And everyone is shocked by this, but he declares, I, Oliver Shiramide, have come to fetch you. And Oga's got a great reaction, which is to just grab him by the cheek and be like, what the hell are you doing? No sells it. So apparently they seem to go back a bit, but no one knows the nature of their relationship. But he says, like, look, in a few years, it's been a few years, so proper greens are in order, and I've come with good news. The United States is the land of cutting-edge golf innovation. That's what we're known for, cutting-edge golf innovation.
Nothing else.
And he says that there is one particular college...
Don't look into history books. Get off of Wikipedia. What are you doing? We're known for golf and nothing else. Please, stop. I beg of you.
And there is one particular college where iShield 21 attends, St. Beyond College. iShield 21 special chapter coming next week, baby! So, and he says, like, they've got state-of-the-art facilities, great coaches, and he says, this is from my mother, Nadeshiko. It's an invitation to attend as a scholarship student. And everyone's like, oh my god! And, of course, Haku's just had the thought of like, oh, I'd like to have a game of golf with her someday. Apparently she's leaving already. What?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be very interesting to see where this develops. It would be crazy to think that Haku won't also somehow find his way to this school or something like that. I don't know if this is like, hey, the series is getting ranked soon. Let's like put forward like a new concept or something like that. I don't know. We shall see, but this is very cool. I love that we're showing putting, and I love that after just kind of establishing a thing that they were like, well, gender will be the barrier that always prevents you from ever achieving. Like, Oga will never be able to nail a 300-yard shot like I did.
She doesn't need to.
Showing something like this to show that she's just an absolute master at putting is something I'm like very appreciative to get.
Yeah. It's great that we're also getting this very shonen thing of like, hey, people can have different specialties when it comes to this sport. You can be great at driving, you can be great at putting. Maybe we'll get to someone eventually who's like, get really good at using a sand wedge or something like that. Different ways of making it people feel interesting and cool. New Exorcist time, chapter 34, the rescue plan. Gakuro has made up his mind that they're gonna save Suo and Shiroha. And so Shitatsu says, like, well, how are we gonna do that? We're going to find them with Mr. Karasu Tengu's powers and sneak in. And just like, but that's your plan? That's a stupid plan. And she does something to attack him, but it's covered up by him going "ga," I guess. But
now, Nick, you know what would be really funny?
What?
Is if like we just talked about how the level 3 there is the one that killed their parents, and what's her face is going to be really angry about it, and then we just jump to the next chapter.
It's kind of what happens. Honestly, pages and pages go by, and all that it really establishes is this continued like sister fetish that this series has. Like, because they have to get close to.
You have to hold hands. You have to be together.
I haven't activated the invisibility yet, so it's pointless for you to be doing that right now. But and then the creepy monster shows up, and it's saying "Daddy," presumably because its last words were is echoing the last words that it heard before it killed their dad. Killed our dad! And Shitatsu, is like, yeah, I became an exorcist to get revenge for my dead dad. Yep.
My dad!
She was there.
They both do it now. She was.
I don't even know if it was. I don't even know if it was established that she was also there when it killed their dad, but she was. And so she gets really, really, really angry. One of her eyes goes pure bloodshot, and she leaves the invisibility to punch the thing right in the fucking face. And she goes, I'll freaking kill you! And hey, if we could just have a character just do this sometimes, that would markedly improve this series. Just have someone want to kill stuff. Cool.
Yeah,
all right.
I'm intentionally kind of pushing us forward, but this is one of the better chapters because it's like, hey, let's do essentially what we did for Shiroha, but for Shotatsu here, and like just get some development for the character and do some cool like action stuff. Then we're probably significantly less stupid than we normally would be.
Yep. Chapter 16, A 2 on Ice, is called Baptism, and so they've just met the rival of the series. Well, Hayuma has just met the rival of the series. Of course, Tora is freaking childhood friends / traumatizers with Kisara. So they introduce each other, and now he like explains his whole backstory because Tora demands to hear it, and then he's like, ugh, it's weird. Kisara's like, hey, he's good. He landed a triple axel in his first competition. And Tora's like, that's impressive. Hayuma, before I answer your question about my muscles and how I do quad axles with them, I have a question for you. Are you aware you've been blessed with talent? And there's an interesting moment here because Hayuma answers, I am, but we get the context and a brief flash before that to explain why he answers that way, which is he has had it pointed out to him multiple times. Yes. So that's why he knows. It's not an arrogance thing. He's been told this. And he says, so anyway, Tora says, I don't understand why you would choose to do pairs. If you're interested in quad axles, a triple should suffice in pairs. I don't have the time to explain things to people who don't understand. And Hayuma's like, hey, don't look down on pairs. Kisara turned to me and wanted to do it with me, and I want to do a side-by-side triple axel with her. And Tora's like, oh, this fool. He is ignorant and dim-witted. To put it nicely, you could call him innocent. While I fought by myself, these two never lost their sparkle. And then he beckons Hayama over and says, "You both must think you are pure and innocent, and that this makes you beautiful. It's sickening." And he takes Hayama by the arm and says, "Do you think superficial beauty is enough to challenge me? Maybe you won't get it until you face something frightening. Shudder-inducing beauty comes from ugly, revolting feelings." This guy is crazy. Cool.
I love how fucking weird and religious. Like, this dude is so fucking extra and, like, over the top. I feel like this is the only antagonist we're ever going to meet in this series, and I'm so glad it's this guy.
He asks Hayama, while this close to him, "Do you have someone you detest from the depths of your soul?" And Hayama grabs his hand. Not Hayama. Kisara grabs his hand and is like, "I don't know what you're trying to do, but stop teaching my partner disgusting things."
Stop being such a fucking weirdo. What are you doing? He asked you how you, like, work out and land a quadruple axle, and you're like, "Beauty is ugly. It shall destroy you." You started going on a fucking Star Wars villain speech. You're like, "You don't understand. Power breaks our chains. Only then can we be free."
God. Kisara establishes that she's heard that Sora is doing pairs as well. And then he just, like, gets up and leaves. It's like, "You're losing your practice time because you're too focused on me." And he walks off, and I was like, what the hell? What was with that guy? So, yeah, they say, like, you know, he's always been kind of, like, weird, I guess. Sora leaves. He runs into his manager, the plainest man in the world.
It makes sense. I wouldn't, if I was trying to, like, look good, I wouldn't want to be surrounded by this guy at all times. I would definitely make myself as mousy as possible. Mousish?
Yep.
Moushish. Nick, why does that word sound so wrong? Moushish? I feel like I just unlocked a code. Like, somewhere a book just opened that was never supposed to open.
So they talk for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, while he's thinking about what he's just gotten into, Sora starts taking his scarf off, and he's like, "Oh, it's hot here." And his manager's like, "It's January." No, it's not. And he's just, like, thinking about Hayama and how hot he gets him. Like, it's just, and he says, and he doesn't know anything. He's pulled a girl out of what should have been her living hell. They can't stay innocent forever. I saw something absolutely sickening. Don't they feel shame for flaunting their naked hearts? They act as though they're Adam and Eve. So I need to be their teacher. The ice isn't Eden, where they could be innocent forever. And his manager says,
I love this
What
dude.
are you talking about?
I love this dude so much. He immediately is just like, "They're like Adam and Eve, unaware of the garden they're in, and I must be the snake that brings them knowledge." His manager's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Who are you talking about?
I didn't see the people you met. I have no acknowledgement what this conversation is even in reference to.
Oh, God. Hayama is very freaked out by this. It's like messing up
as you should be. If you met this human being, you would not be the same.
You'd be like, Kisara, we need to get a restraining order now.
Yeah, if this guy came up to me and I was like, "Wow, you're in really good shape. What do you do to land quad axles?" And he, like, grabbed me by the shoulders and he's like, "You innocent child! Do you have no idea the biblical rage that's fallen upon you? Your pillar of salt, prepared to be dashed upon the walls of Sodom and Gomorrah." And I'm like, "You're mixing, like, 3 Bible stories up right now, but I'm terrible."
Only when you have gathered 2 of every animal will you understand.
You must do 2 of every skating move, and then you shall be cut upon the rock, as God has told his famous son to sacrifice you, Isaac. What? God, you know what? I don't need to know how to do a quad axle. You're good.
Good! Now you know not to fly so close to the sun!
I'm like, well, that's not even Jesus. That's Icarus. That's a different thing, dude.
Part the seas and you shall see!
He's just screaming. He's spitting. He's like hanging out of a taxi cab, still screaming at me as it drives away. Yeah, they will cut your hair. They will cut your hair, Samson. Your powers will be gone. The Jezebel will find you, for I am she. Like he's on an airplane recording himself.
Oh my god.
Being your baby before me, King David, I shall split him in twain.
Oh my god. Okay.
This guy's so fun.
Oh man. Yeah, Hayuma doesn't really know what the hell is up with that guy, but he understands. I have met someone with cold, unwarrantably twisted and intense spite. Unwarrantably twisted and intense spite is a great way of describing this insane man. And he's just like, oh my god, why am I... Oh god, I'm scared. And he's like, God, how can I say I'm scared? He's like smacking him in the face, trying to get a handle on himself. But Kisara says like, look, you're clearly out of it. It's dangerous for us to be doing lifts and everything while you're in this state, so we'll just, you know, like, call it. But Hayuma calls over to Natsuya and says, hey, can I try doing the girl's part? Like, can you pick me up and throw me and stuff? Because I think it must be scary to be the girl during para moves, and I want to be able to fight fear with fear and overcome this. So put me through the experience that I'm putting Kisara through. But then they establish, like, you shouldn't have done that because you've just suggested something dangerous, and Natsuya is really upset now. So...
yeah. This is like a fun little charming end. He's like just trying to figure himself out and then proposes something kind of dumb. But what a great, like, further introduction to this character. It's so wonderful. I wish all antagonists were as extra as this guy is. All right, let's talk about Elusive Samurai pretty quickly.
Elusive Samurai.
I legitimately don't even remember what happens.
Yeah,
I think he just checks in with a bunch of people.
That's mostly how things go. Chapter 141, Akie's army. They make a comment on Date, the weird facial hair guy, that he's just kind of like a normal dude, and so he doesn't have much presence. And then he's like, "Don't say that I have no presence. Stop that!" And that's kind of it. Nanbu has done a really good job, and he basically slobbers all over Tokiyuki's face while he's talking trash to him. Okay, and then Yuki kills a man heartlessly and slowly, and kills him very meanly. And Tokiyuki's like, I don't like that guy. And then they make a joke about how his eyes are just like perpetually rolled up because he has pupils, as established in this shot. So that must mean that they're usually rolled back because he doesn't normally have pupils.
Yeah, he's usually fucking Undertaker-ing it. Which calls into question how he manages to do a lot of things, but I think, you know, we're just going to go with it.
Tokiyuki also meets someone from the opposing army named Hachiro. I literally do not remember this guy before. Okay. And then...
is this the guy who's supposed to be, what's his name, son?
I don't know.
There's Ashikaga's son. I know that's somebody who I'm supposed to be keeping in my mind somewhere, but I don't remember which character is which, unfortunately.
I don't remember this guy. He didn't leave much of a mark. Anyway, so I think this is the guy who sacrificed himself towards the end of the time skip. The son of the guy who sacrificed himself, rather. Anyway, in Akie's army, we also meet a new weird guy. He's very intense and serious looking, but he keeps on asking about when they're going to eat. Yep. But there's trouble because Gemba comes in reporting that they need to return to the main force, and they're like, "Oh, did we win? No! They're losing to an army of 40th the size because Toki Yurito is broken as shit, and it's the big massive guy who has to ride on 2 horses. He has been killing their asses, it seems. So that's it. That's Elusive Samurai. It looked like everything was going well, but not for Akie's group. Okay.
Yep. We've kind of understood this, so this was sort of a catch-up, couple jokes, and then that's pretty much it. So, good stuff. Let's talk about Akane-banashi, though, because I don't know if you've heard, Nick, this is a major event
there's a major event, and it's a majorly cool color page at the start as well. It's very, I like the palette that's used.
Yeah,
It's
you know,
it feels very throwbacky.
You know, we're down bad for a series when we're like, what a great color page, and the most dynamic thing happening is Akane is preparing to tie her hair back. she's just getting herself into a ponytail.
Yeah. We start off by continuing the conversation between Chocho and Shigema regarding Shigema's art. And so, Shigema says, well, what would you even do with that? And Chocho says, I mean, nothing, really. I'm not the kind of guy who actually, gets curious about other people's pasts. But Tainoji is still dragging the memory of the expulsion with him. He blamed himself for what happened and bottled up that anger until it earned him the epithet the Furious. Now he's as harsh as a demon toward himself and others. So that's a nice wrinkle there that ties into Valdez's reputation, specifically because of Akane's dad being expelled.
Yes.
Also, interestingly, Chocho basically knows about Zensho telling Taizen to not promote Akane. He doesn't know that happened, but he's like, there is no question that he's going to mess with it because I know how his mind works and the kind of ego he's got, basically. And he says when that happens, Akane's going to need someone in her corner. And he also brings up, look, I understand whatever your reasoning was at the time. You weren't able to protect Shinta back then. But things have changed. I have power now. And if even my friend's kid is going to suffer on account of this nonsense, I ain't going to take it lying down. And it's easily the most serious that he has looked since his introduction.
Very much so.
So Shigema reflects on the promise that he made to Akane's mother to, take care of her as her teacher. And he says, look, I don't need you to tell me the score. If it comes to it, I'll take matters into my own hands.
Yeah, everyone's preparing to fucking come for Akane if shit gets real. I love it.
Yeah. So then they kind of lower the tension for a bit. And Shigema says, hey, how does Akane seem to you? Do you think she's Futatsume material? And Chocho's like, I don't know. That's up for Tainoji to decide. All I can do is set the scene and trust her to do the rest. And we see Akane has come to meet up with Asagao at their big performance because she wants to try out this new version of Tanuki dice using modern lingo instead of old-timey stuff. And she says, yeah, I mean, putting it into my own words makes it seem not like Rakugo, then what's the point? And she's even performing it while wearing just a hoodie instead of a kimono and stuff, so it seems extra modern and casual. So she launches into it. We skip over the performance so as not to spoil it for when the big performance comes, and she finishes it out. And the others are kind of just shocked. They don't really know what to say beyond just I mean, it seems okay. It sounds natural and stuff. And Akane says, I mean, you're being honest, right? It's yes. So she's like, okay, I guess that went over pretty well. Asagao then brings up, hey, so he's coming to the debut event, right? Your dad. So, okay. And Akane, apparently knows about this too, which I don't think was a thing that we had established before, that she was just aware that her dad was planning to be there. And she says, yeah, this is the first time he's coming to see one of my performances. So you're going to have to be ready for it, says Asagao. And Akane's like, yeah, I'm going to steal the show from you. And she gets this big, goofy look on her face and stuff. And they start arguing like kids again.
She's a silly little dork, yeah.
Some flyers start getting handed around at Monthly Rakugo. It's our journalism friends. They're back to comment on proceedings and bring up that there is a massive feud boiling right now between the Arakawa School and the Rakugo Federation. And things really they say that things really happened because of that mass expulsion that Isho caused. It was a big enough scandal that even the mainstream media covered it. And right now, Shigema is basically the mediator between the groups, but there is still, especially between the people at the tops of both the Federation and the school, a huge rift between them right now. And now As a result of Asuka's promotion event, where both Chocho and Taizen are going to be performing, members of those opposing factions are going to be on the same performance. So it's a major event that's going to shake the world of Edo Rakugo to its core.
Yes.
And we just get a big final preparation going in, as Taizen's heading to the event, Asagao's heading there, Chocho's heading there, and of course Akane is on her way to Asagao Kanjakute's Futatsume debut performance.
This is appropriately very exciting. There are so many stakes kind of going on right now, so many characters showing up. I love just how tense this entire situation feels. Like, it feels like there's so much going on. And I'm just super excited to get into this event and start digging into some of this drama.
Yeah, it feels like something big is going to happen at this event. But it also seems like there's so much going on that it's hard to predict what that big thing is going to be.
Yes. I have no idea how this will go, but I imagine we'll have a great time. But Nick, it is time to wrap up Weekly Manga Recap by talking about our last chapter of the week. This is One Piece, chapter 1104. Thank you, comma, Daddy. I can't say it naturally. I've never called my father Daddy. I feel like if I say that chapter title naturally, my mind will go to a different place. It won't be good, so can't do it. Hey, Sanji's there, and there are some little mice proposing to each other.
This is so cute.
Adorable.
Such a cute. It's great. I love it. Also, I don't know why the girl mouse has like human hairstyle if the guy mouse doesn't.
She's wearing a wig.
Regular mouse.
That's a mouse that loves wigs.
Great.
Mouse-sized wigs specifically.
Nice.
Mice-sized wigs. So last chapter ended with Kuma showing up, and he is preparing to punch Saint Saturn in the face, and that is where we open back up. His arm is back. He is preparing. We get a montage of all of the pain and suffering in Kuma's life that is directly attached to all of this bastard, all the pain that from people he loves, his father crying, Ginny crying.
Also a little bit of a couple moments of joy though.
Yeah, there's a little joy, but it's him thinking on all this pain, and then we come back into the flashback or this montage to Bonnie crying. It closes with her as a baby crying. It's now her crying. And as this punch is happening in midair, Kuma's like really fucking storing this.
Hold on a second.
Yeah. Saint Saturn is like, why is this happening, Vegapunk? He should be dead. After the Revolutionary Army took Kuma away, I pressed the self-destruct switch. And before we can get any reaction, we have one last panel. It is drawn so great. There's so much of a great sense of like movement and like prepared impact in this shot as Kuma is gritting his teeth. And then we just get a 2-page spread of Kuma fucking slugging Saint Saturn right in the face. His arm is covered in hockey, and it's glorious. Literally, the chapter could have ended here, and I would have been like, perfect.
Yay!
No notes. It's so good because he doesn't just punch him. He sends him fucking flying. This shot sends Saturn across.
Toppled over. Yeah.
This absolutely tears him up. All the Marines are reacting. This is crazy. Someone just punched out one of the 5 elders. They don't know that there's a person above the 5 elders. In their mind, this is one of the 5 strongest and most important people in the world. You cannot do this. A slave, nonetheless, is doing it. This is, in their own words, a historical atrocity. But with Saturn gone, our heroes are able to move a little bit, and Vegapunk is very shocked. He's like, I did not attach any self-destruct switch. I understood as if I did that, they would just use you as a suicide weapon. But I upheld the condition about the total shutdown switch. You should be in a vegetative state right now, but you are here, you're acting with your own will, you are even carrying out orders. There is no reason that you should have sprung into action. So is this true? Is it not the physical strengths of the Buccaneers that make them remarkable? For at one point in time, and he's about to say something.
Let's not talk about how great the Buccaneers are. We just lost.
Nick doesn't want to talk about Mike Allstott anymore.
No. Sorry, Baker Mayfield. Turns out it's not a great quarterback in the end.
Oh.
he's just kind of okay,
just kind of serviceable, a journeyman, you could say. But yeah, Vegapunk is about to allude to something the Buccaneer people do, but he doesn't finish that thought. Classic One Piece. Kizaru just kind of sighs. He's like, well, it's over. Bonnie gets to climb up into Vegapunk's arms, or Takuma's arms, like he went down and grabbed her when she was crying, and she gets to kind of like grab onto his little face.
Yeah. She's back. She's fully back in her natural 12-year-old form at this point.
Yeah, and she just says, "Thank you, Daddy." Shouldn't have said. She's like, "I got to see all of your memories. I got to see Mommy, and she was such a wonderful person. I got to see all those letters you wrote me, and I was so happy to find it all. It's so sweet." She's like, everyone calls you a tyrant, but I know my daddy is the kindest and most wonderful man in the entire world, and I'll never, ever forget it. And Kuma is hugging her. Like, he is embracing her, but his face can't express anything. It's just, like, cold and stoic. It's very sad. They embrace. But then Saint Saturn gets up. Like, there's a big explosion of power. Stands up. Shows back up. His arm has been mangled. It's, like, torn to pieces, basically. And he's furious. He's like, "Vegapunk, what is this? What is this you're doing?" And I feel like Vegapunk's like, "Well, I suppose it may look that way. But I suppose you could call this the power of love, if that makes you feel better."
Bullshit!
I mean, in his defense, the reason why Kuma's acting does seem to be the power of love or something. He doesn't quite get it.
Just
he doesn't know the
pure
reason.
raw determination, it seems like.
But Saint Saturn's arm begins to regenerate at this point, and it's weird. Sanji reacts like, "How come his body's changed?" And I just forgot that One Piece wasn't one of the many series where characters just spontaneously regenerating isn't like a normal thing in this universe. I'm like, oh yeah, that's actually is kind of weird and interesting.
Especially because it seems like he might have like a Zoan type fruit, so that would not normally entail having regenerative powers in some form.
Yeah, it was interesting to me in that moment. But Saint Saturn is preparing to end that. He's like, "All right, if this is a flaw in the human programming, then you all have no use to me anymore." And he goes to try to stab Kuma. Sanji interferes. He kicks the foot away. It is very, very cool and satisfying to see Sanji get to act. Frankie is like, "Hey, we owe Kuma a great debt too." And he is preparing to activate his radical beam. Kizaru's watching on. He's like, "Oh, wow, you've developed very well." The beam is super effective. It rips straight through fucking Saint Saturn. But that moment is when Kizaru chooses to attack. So he knocks Frankie away. He says, "Show me how much you've grown," and blasts him away. We have a whole bunch of chaos happening at this point. The wound on Saint Saturn is closing. Bonnie is like, "Oh no, my gosh, my dad's not moving." Atlas comes and grabs him, and Vegapunk's like, "Get him to the Labo phase." Kizaru is now standing in front of Saturn. It is like, all right, since Kuma's here now, this kind of even things out a little bit, so maybe we can end this, right? And Vegapunk confronts him. Is just like, "Have you no heart? You're a sad man." And Kizaru just says, "Yeah, I'm a miserable sight. I should have brought darker shades."
It's so cool for no reason.
It's so cool, but does legitimately feel very conflicted. It kind of feels like his hand is forced now. Because before he was able to kind of play around with the fact he's like, "I'm a Marine Admiral, but no one's watching me." But now St. Saturn is physically right there. He kind of seems like he has to act on this. And the chapter ends with the Buster Call being activated. This island has been declared a threat to the world government. They are to burn it to the ground. And Saint Saturn ends the chapter by saying, "Those who study the secrets of the world, and those who possess the blood of a lost people, and those who have awakened an ancient god, this island is full of inconvenient people who must be eradicated."
Yeah, so we're going to have to deal with the Straw Hats being on an island where a Buster Call has been declared, which of course it seemed like we were heading in that direction.
Robin's been there, done that, girl.
It's fine. You'll just lose everyone you love. It's okay. It was great to see that punch actually happen and to have the review of like, self-destruct switch didn't kill him. Nice. Yeah. And it seems like based on the fact that they're carrying Kuma somewhere, that they're at least indicating that right now there is hope that he could be brought out of this somehow. Obviously, no guarantee of that. It seems like he is potentially just, his body's just moving under the power of his soul right now, so maybe that's not going to last.
Yeah.
But I thought we were going to just like have maybe one punch land and then he blows the hell up. So that's not the case.
It's very nice to know that the explosion thing isn't necessarily going to be what's happening. I still don't think that there's a happy ending for Kuma here in all of this. I think we're watching a real life flashback happen before our eyes. But I am super excited to see where this goes. This was awesome. This was as satisfying as I thought it was going to be, seeing Kuma land that punch. This may be the most satisfying punch in all of One Piece. I know a lot of people turned to Luffy punching Carlos back in the Fishman Island, or not Fishman Island, the Archipelago arc.
Definitely meant to be reminiscent of that.
Yeah, it feels in that way, but this one feels like it has so much more. Again, there's so much lore to Kuma and decades worth of it that, holy shit, it's so fucking good. I love this so much. I'm not even gonna like hide it. One Piece chapter of the week, Kuma character of the week. It's just perfect.
I also wanted to just note on, like, it was really weird but very nice to have a moment where like Frankie got to do something.
Yes.
And then when Kizaru blasted him, I was like, are we gonna have Frankie and Kizaru fight?
It is nice to have him acknowledge, like, oh right, nice laser beams.
Yeah. So yeah, this was a great chapter. A lot of stuff happened. Things took a direction that I wasn't expecting them to, and I'm very much welcoming of that. And yeah, we're back fully into the present period. Gotten completely out of the flashback now. We get to see how this whole thing is going to go.
Yes.
So looking forward to it. That's going to do it for Weekly Manga Recap. Let's name our favorites. Quinn, you have already given me your favorite series. Do you have an MVP for this week?
Kuma as well. Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. My favorite chapter, there were a lot of really good chapters this week. There were, but mine was Spy Family. I thought that this chapter was such a perfectly executed joke. Just, oh, we're gonna launch into a mini arc, a murder mystery. No, it's done because Anya can read minds.
Bond can see the future. Yeah.
All the little things, the cute ski trip at the beginning, all the silly fucking pun names for all the students and the writer and everything. It's all really, really good.
Yes.
And for my MVP, I am going with Sora because he's insane. Like, why is he so intense?
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. He is really good. Fuck. I really should have considered giving it to him this week. That Kuma punch is so good, but that is a great back. Holy shit. I wish I had thought of that. Great pick.
But I just want to say, like, Blue Box was really, really good. And I also thought Cipher Academy was really, really good. But Spy Family is just too funny. Like, I've got to give it that. So that's fair. It.
The audience, by the way, picked One Piece as the chapter of the week, and the MVP is a tie between Kuma and Nayuta from Chainsaw Man.
All right. Well, that is going to do it, everyone, for Weekly Manga Recap. We will be back next week, right around the same time, which will be somewhere between 7:30 and 8 Eastern, here on twitch.tv/RoloT. You can check out our past episodes on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com in audio form, and in video form on YouTube, youtube.com/weeklymangarecap. We also post them on all the podcast feed type of places like iTunes and Spotify and such like that. You can also join us on the Weekly Manga Recap Discord server, which will be linked wherever this gets posted. Chat about chapters as they come out. Make recommendations by going on the Google Doc, which is maintained by Ninja X3i. You can also ask us questions for a future Q&A episode and such. We also have a new Patreon thingy where we talked about stuff. Our New Year's resolutions, mostly Quinn's. And
I have a few, unfortunately.
And also just kind of like some general like media thoughts beyond the world of manga as well.
Nick gives his thoughts on Jujutsu Kaisen. If you were curious to hear what Nick thinks about probably the biggest series we don't talk about on the show, go listen to that episode, because near the end, Nick will give his full, unfiltered thoughts on Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yep, they're emotional.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we also want to thank Mileage X Stillitz and Winston Cheddar for doing the opening sequence of the video version of the show. And and Steve Mann, who does occasional title cards. You can check out all of his artwork by just searching for Steve Mann art. So that's everything, I believe. So thank you all for joining us. Talk about manga next week as well.
Yeah, next week is where we talk about all that manga. We're gonna have a good time next week. Nick, what are you most looking forward to?
Next week?
Mm-hmm. You have to pick one thing right now.
One thing in general in my life?
Yes,
like
in existence.
I mean, it's the end of the month, so that means I'm going to be busy at work. No, that's a terrible answer.
I hear you. Heat death of the universe. All right, goodbye, everybody.
Wait, that's next week?
Oh, Ice Shield 21. That's it, right? We're going to talk about Ice Shield 21 hopefully next week. It's going to be super.
Hopefully.
It's going to be super legal. I'm not talking about this, Nick.
No. Yeah, with you. Yeah.
Okay, it's happening. I'm gonna close my eyes. I'm gonna hold out my hand. I don't care where you got it, but someone's gonna hand me a translated version of this Ice Shield 21 chapter, and we're both gonna go our own separate ways and support the official release. Okay?
Yes.
Good. Goodbye, everybody.
We'll cash in on our favors from our Viz friends. Yeah.
They're like, we have no favors to get. We're not translate. What are you talking about?
No, favors.
Yeah.
Come on.
I have here an official pad of paper from the Shonen Jump offices that says we are your eternal podcast rivals. Also, we won because you don't do your podcast anymore. So I believe you owe us a favor. Eye shield.